Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Just so you know. Here we go. Hello there, everyone. Matt here with thevirtualinstructor.com, and welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube. I hope all of you are doing fantastic this evening, and we're glad to be back. Last week we had some major technical difficulties. Some lightning struck in and around the studio and actually knocked all of our network capabilities out completely. So we didn't get those back up until last Friday, believe it or not. So we're glad to be back up this week. And just before we went live, of course, experiencing more technical difficulties. I'm having trouble getting my photo reference to come up on my iPad, but I've got it up here on the computer, and hopefully that will suffice for us this evening. So again, I want to welcome you here to Getting Sketchy Live. What is Getting Sketchy Live anyway? It is where either myself or my good friend and fellow artist and art teacher Ashley Hurst tries to create a drawing for you inside of 45 minutes live here, where you can ask questions, you can make comments, you can interact with us, of course. And we try to sprinkle in some instruction as well. And Ashley is sitting right over there. How are you doing tonight, Ashley?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks for asking. I hope you guys are doing really well out there. You know, we just missed 1 week last week, but it feels like it's been forever. So I'm super glad to be back with you guys. And the subject that Matt's working on tonight, I'm pretty excited about too. So I can't wait for you to see that.
Yeah, tonight we are going to be drawing a motorcyclist on a motorcycle with white charcoal and black paper. And where did this come from? Well, here this season, we have been spinning a couple of wheels. We have been spinning one wheel for the material that we're going to use, and then one wheel for the subject matter. And last time we met, Ashley spun the wheel, and it ended up on vehicles and charcoal, so that's what we're doing tonight. So this is going to be kind of a high contrast image. Now, the image I'm going to be using is going to be up on your screen, but if you want a copy of it for yourself, all you have to do is go to the community tab on the YouTube channel, and to get to the YouTube channel, look for the little icon of my face underneath this video, and when you click on it, it will take you to the actual channel. While you're there, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And you'll see under the community tab there the photo reference, and then all of the photo references that we've done for all of the past episodes of Getting Sketchy can be found there as well. So if you want to go back and check those out, because we've done, let's see, this is episode 9. This is episode 9 of this season.
Oh, you're right, it is. Next week is the last drawing episode of the season, and then sort of our critique wrap-up show.
Yes, so next week Ashley will be doing the drawing, and the week after that we'll do a wrap-up where we critique all the drawings that we've created, and then we'll take a little bit of break from Getting Sketchy. But if you like this kind of thing where we do live broadcasts each week, we do have a membership program at thevirtualinstructor.com, which includes a variety of drawing and painting courses on a variety of subject matter and media. And there's also weekly live lessons. So after this broadcast, we're going to be heading over to thevirtualinstructor.com. I'm going to be continuing the live lesson series that we started a couple of weeks ago, where we are drawing a vintage race car using a combination of markers and colored pencil. So vehicle tonight for Getting Sketchy, and a vehicle for the live lesson after that. There are also weekly critiques as part of the Members Minute, and also a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers there, which is all part of the membership program. Now, if you want to check out the membership program, you can. There's a link in the description below this video. Everyone starts off with a week-long trial for free, so you can get in there and see if the program is right for you. Now, if you want to just check out 3 of our course videos and ebooks for free, you can do that as well. There's a link below this video as well for that, too. And I'm looking here, and my image is still not coming up. So it's going to be even a little bit of a greater challenge for me tonight. But that's okay, because let me tell you something, guys. I am accustomed to challenges here in the last few months. You guys don't even know it. And even though I've been beat down and beat up, I am still here, and I'm still breathing, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I'm able to look right into this camera and feel like I'm looking right into your eyes tonight. And I've just been given so much energy for some strange reason.
Well, you can look into my eyes.
Yeah, I can look deep into Ashley's eyes over there. So anyway, we'll continue to see if this is going to come up, but I'm not going to let that get me down. Ashley, got anything else before we switch over there?
I just want to say hello to Kenneth Binkley. It's his first time here tonight, so welcome to the program.
Welcome.
Looks like you're getting some welcomes from the rest of the chat. We've got visitors tonight from Ontario, from Virginia, Texas, Malaysia, and all over the world. So thank you guys all for being here, no matter what time it is. Now, I think it's about time for the drawing. Is that right?
It is. So we're going to go ahead and switch over and take a look at the materials, and then we'll get into this one. All right. Oh, we don't need the timer yet, so let me go ahead and hide that. It's a little too soon for that.
A little too soon.
Here's a look at the reference that I'm going to be working from up here. And as you can see, I've got my black paper here. This is Strathmore Art Again paper, and it has a pretty smooth tooth. There's a little bit of a tooth there, and you'll see it when I start applying the white charcoal. As far as the materials I'm going to be using white charcoal. There's one pencil, there's two pencils, and there's three pencils. I also have a stick here as well. All the same material, and I'm calling it white charcoal because that's what the manufacturers call it, but who knows what it actually is. It's not really charcoal. We know that charcoal is actually black and not white. So it is probably related to charcoal. It behaves similarly to compressed charcoal, but since it's white, obviously some type of pigmentation has been added to it. And this paper is relatively cheap and inexpensive, and you can find it at any art store.
You know, that may be what my new sketchbook is made from. This black sketchbook that I bought is, I just checked, and it is a Strathmore sketchbook. So I think I've got a whole sketchbook of that paper, which is a great way to go because you can carry it around with you. We often sketch on white paper, but sketches actually go faster on black paper, so it makes more sense to me that sketchbooks are gray or black.
Yeah, and tonight we're going to be concentrating on adding the light values and leaving the darker values, which means that if we put a little bit too much of the material on the surface, we're going to have to remove it to bring back some of those dark values. So I have an electric eraser here, and I also have just a handheld. This is a Tombow Mono eraser here. This is a very precise, well, not very precise, but fairly precise vinyl eraser. Both of these are vinyl erasers in here. But if you don't have a vinyl eraser, you're welcome to use a standard rubber eraser. And I also have a blending stump, so we're going to be doing some blending here. And I'm going to be lightly sketching things out initially with, let's see, this is a 2H pencil. I actually intended to get an HB pencil.
While you look for that, I'll mention that Alana didn't have the right materials, and so she actually watercolored a piece of paper to darken it and prepare it to draw on with white pastel pencils. So way to go being resourceful, finding a dark support or surface and some other type of light mark-making material. And in fact, if you don't have black paper, but you have some sort of dark color, that would work really well also, and it would a little bit like the portrait that I did on red paper. It may create a different mood to your artwork than that which Matt creates.
And while Ashley's doing that talking, I'm resetting my iPad here, and hopefully it'll be able to connect with iCloud so that I can have my image back.
Do you have that set to update it? It's like 6:30. I don't
update anything ever. In fact, when my computers update, I get really frustrated by it because
I do too.
I've had too many times where I've tried to do an update and something has been messed up.
I never update my phones. I just use the operating system I get until I get a new phone.
I had an Android phone for a while, and I updated it because I got the recommendation to update it, and it messed everything up. And then I took it to the store, and they told me, the reason why it messed up is because you updated it.
And it's not powerful enough for the new updates. It slows them down.
And you know what? The resetting did the job here.
All right.
So I should be able to find here my image if you guys will just
what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 seconds off the clock to penalize Matt for losing his image. So he'll have 40 minutes.
Well, it wasn't my fault. But you said 5 seconds, though, didn't you?
Did I 5 second penalty?
I think 5 seconds is doable penalty here. Let's see here. This gives you guys time to get your image.
He's going to have to start the race from pit lane.
Let's see here. Where is it? There it is. Ha, ha, ha. I'm laughing. I'm cackling in victory. There it is. Yes. Now I've got it up. Now we're good to go.
All right, very good. All right. Very good.
So I'm going to start things off with the HB pencil, just really lightly planning out where the motorcyclist is going to be with the motorcycle. And then I'm going to start filling in the rest of the image with shapes. So we're going to progressively start with larger shape. We're going to start with a larger shape, then we're going to progressively work our way down. And I'm going to start by actually looking at the overall shape of the body of the guy or girl and the motorcycle itself. And we'll start from there. All right, so let's get the timer going.
And while you do that, I'll mention that Paul Roach says that he bought a white charcoal pen the other day for fine white details. A white charcoal pen. I'm not sure what that would look like. But any white material that you have for details is going to work tonight.
Yeah, you could use a gel pen, I guess.
You could make it a more of a
acceptable.
Do line work with a gel pen for the tints.
So I'm actually, as I'm starting out here, I'm just kind of looking at the edges of what I'm seeing and where they line up within the picture plane compared to my reference. And
what paper size is that, Matt? You may have mentioned
it's 5 inches by 4 inches.
Okay, 5 inches by 4.
And that is proportional to the photo reference.
Okay.
And then that back tire goes all the way over here. Kind of straight across the bottom. And we kind of get an angle up.
This is not a square, but it's a pretty squatty rectangle. It's close to a square, the ratio being 5:4. And sometimes I feel like it's harder to get movement in a drawing that is a square, or just because of the proportions seems a little more static. But the way this motorcyclist is all on the diagonal, bisects the image right through the middle, but on the diagonal, I think that is a good solution to squatty rectangles into squares, something like this.
Well, a squatty rectangle is definitely better than a squatty potty.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is kind of a challenging subject matter here. I had actually picked out an alternative subject, which would have been easier, but I kept coming back to this motorcyclist because I thought that this looked cooler. And I know that we had done a car. The other thing I had chosen was a car, and I know that we have done something with a car this season.
I did a piece of a car. It was a headlight and a fender on a classic car.
That counts.
Yeah. I would say this is challenging. You get a lot of little shapes in there, and they're almost symmetric, but not quite.
And we also have to keep them,
a lot of overlapping.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect either.
But that's also great. I mean, there's not much of a background in there, but the way the bike is positioned, the overlapping happening from the foreshortening creates some depth and space.
So right about here, we got knee.
Now, Edie had asked, wouldn't it be easier to outline the figure in white? And we can see your drawing, in graphite. It's kind of a shiny gray. Why did you choose not to go ahead and start with white?
Well, because we're gonna be using the white is gonna actually help silhouette the figure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why I'm not starting with white. And the white is a little bit more of a permanent mark.
That's what I was thinking. If you had some contours where you didn't want them or wanted to move them around a little bit, it might limit you there. If it's not in an area that's supposed to end up gray, when in the event that the white doesn't entirely erase. It looks like Paul's white charcoal pen is a white charcoal pencil. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Whatever white charcoal is, right?
Front tire down a little bit further there. And we kind of got this lighter shape right here.
Now, I like drawing on black paper. I like drawing, but part of what attracts me to this subject is that it's a motorcyclist in general. Because as you know, I used to ride motorcycles, and I also like the period in art from I guess it's kind of the early and mid 20th century futurism, which was about power and speed and motion, and those artists drew lots and lots of bicycles and trains and motorcycles and planes. Of course, cars. So it's kind of a subject that is exciting for me personally, and hopefully it is for you guys out there as well. I don't ride motorcycles anymore.
And every time I've gotten on a motorcycle, I've wrecked it. every single time. The last time I wrecked it, I was
Well,
at
I'm
my...
glad you're here.
Yeah, I know. Last time I wrecked it, I was at my brother-in-law's house, and it was just a 50 motorcycle, 50cc, little tiny thing. And I had ridden it around the property and several times and had not wrecked. And I was so proud of myself for not wrecking. And I got back, and he said, well, why don't you go take it for another hot lap?
A hot lap.
A hot lap.
And
so,
that juiced you up, made you feel like you had to do something
I took
extra
it for another
special.
hot lap, and of course there were friends and family over there, and I took it around the front of the house. And as I was coming back, where everybody was watching me, I somehow got the handlebars got in front of me, and it caused me to pull back on the gas.
Oh, goodness.
So the whole motorcycle just slid on the side, and I slid right. I slid sideways. It hurt so bad. Threw myself over the top of the handlebars, and everybody laughed at me. No one cared if I was hurt or not. Even my own wife was just laughing. But anyway, that was the last time I've got on a motorcycle. I got on my cousin's motorcycle one time, and just threw him and me off of it.
So you were the rider and he was the passenger?
Yes. And then a mutual friend of ours, Jarrett.
Oh, yeah.
I wrecked his motorcycle. And I'm pretty sure he was on it too when I wrecked it. I just.
But you can't remember because you hit your head.
I'm a mess. I'm a mess on a motorcycle.
Well, I've come off of a motorcycle once, and I was being doubled on the back. And gosh, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I did have a helmet on, and thank goodness, because I landed on that helmet. I came right off the back when we went over a jump. And of course, I didn't weigh very much, and so it doesn't hurt as much when you land. So that was a good thing. There was a question, why don't I ride motorcycles anymore? I'm ashamed to admit this. In most cases, my wife and I make decisions together, but she kind of gave me an ultimatum after my kids were born. So I'm on lockdown for motorcycles right now, but I have an awesome motorcycle in my future. I don't know how far into the future, but I look forward
Does your
to
wife
that
know
day.
that?
Yeah, I told her. Day's coming. The day's coming.
All right.
I'll be 80, but I'm crawling back on one day.
You'll be riding one of those
Now, actually,
big ones with that,
that
where the
may not
guys
be
have
true.
the big microphones.
No, like a goal. Yeah, the goal wings where I can communicate with my group. I think that would be a lot of fun. My son and I actually saw an awesome gold wing just the other day, but
Oh, look,
I
there's
don't
a
know if
foot
that's
there.
exactly my
Missed that
style.
foot.
I think I found a loophole. I may have mentioned this on the show. Over the last number of months, I guess in the springtime, I built a go-kart with my son and got kind of interested in the idea of like backyard vehicles. And I thought, I'm going to build a mini bike next, and started doing some searches to look at different plans and engines and motors and stuff like that. And I saw where there's quite a few different YouTube channels where some guys have taken older motorcycles and converted them to electric motorcycles. And so now I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it like an engineering project, but I'll come out with a motorcycle earlier than what my wife thinks I'm gonna have a motorcycle again. So we'll see.
An electric motorcycle. That's pretty interesting. There.
Yeah, they're super fast.
All right, I've got the basic outline here of my motorcyclist here, and
I meant to ask a question for Alana a few moments ago. She was wondering about the relative size of the head and the motorcycle. Any advice for capturing that ratio?
Well, you can always measure. So you can always use a pencil or whatever you want, and take a measurement of the head and say, okay, well, that's one unit of measurement.
Head, yes.
One head, and then see how tall the motorcycle is, how many heads it is, or how many heads is it in a diagonal,
or all of those directions. I would use the head for everything. I would use it for the width of the entire motorcycle.
How wide it is.
Also.
Now, I didn't do any of that stuff here, but I could have. I just kind of eyeballed this and kind of went a little bit quicker. But if you do want something that's a little bit more accurate, then that's definitely something you can do. So, of course, when we're drawing with a white material, we're going to be thinking about the lighter values. So I'm going to be concentrating on the lighter values that I see here initially. And just like I would maybe start with some of the darker values if I was working with a dark material, I'm going to start with kind of some of the lightest values that I see. And I'm going to use a blending stump in areas to kind of create some grays.
Alana says, Matt, this might be the hardest of the getting sketchies.
Now, why would you say that?
There's just a lot of little.
There's a lot of detail here. Yeah, I didn't
choose the details you include.
I didn't do myself any favors here. Yeah, and this can be, this can be kind of a little bit more abstract if you want. It doesn't have to be just like what you see. In fact, you can leave details out. Like in this helmet, it might be a good idea to leave out some of the details.
Sure. As long as you're getting the form right. It's going to look like it's going to make sense, even if we leave some of the nuance out. The details don't make the motorcyclist or the motorcycle. They're icing on the
And keep
cake.
in mind, we're going to be going around the outside of this and silhouetting the motorcyclist, and that's going to make a difference too.
Yeah, that's when it'll all kind of come together.
Yeah. I'm not going to write shark up here or anything like that. I'm just going to...
I just did a drawing of Charles Leclerc's F1 Ferrari, and only the large letters did I actually paint. All the small ones, it's just like scribbling that looks like letters in motion. It actually worked out pretty well, and it's just kind of scribbling. So
when did you do that drawing?
I did it on my iPad I guess about a week ago.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'll show it to you.
Okay, I'm also starting in the upper right-hand corner because I am right-handed. I'm trying to keep the palm of my hand out of the way. I'm going to use a blending stump here and do a little bit of blending.
Pat says that her husband is 72 and she's 63, and they still ride and have been riding since he's been riding since 16 or 17, and she's been riding motorcycles since 25.
Nice.
Age 25. So it's nothing like it. It is a lot of fun.
Pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So you can see this blending stump is allowing me to kind of create some grays here and there, kind of soften some of those hard edges with the white.
Feels a little bit like painting when you break out the stump, just kind of pushing and pulling that material around. Ernest says, what about a Can-Am? Those look like a lot of fun. I know that since they don't lean in the same way a normal motorcycle does, I guess you feel the G-force in turns a little bit more, so that would take some getting used to. I know there was and I've never ridden a Can-Am, so I may be a little wrong about that. I don't know if they have some lean to them, but there was a scooter out about, I guess it still is, but it probably came out about 10 years ago, that had two wheels up front. And the name escapes me right now, but even though it had two wheels in the front and was pretty stable, the suspension was built so that it would lean into turns similar to a traditional scooter or motorcycle. And I was pretty intrigued by that.
Okay, now moving down here on the jacket.
Alana points out that where she said this is difficult, she's not worried about you drawing it. She's just she's worried about her trying to draw it. Alana, I'm sure you're drawing.
Well, I'm glad you're not worried about me drawing it, but I'm worried about me drawing
She's got a lot of faith in you right now.
Well, I appreciate all that faith. Some of those stripes there, that cool motorcycle jacket.
Paul asks, Matt, have I heard correctly that you play or have played the drums?
I am a drummer, and in fact, that is... I like to think, and I'm not trying to be braggy or anything, but I like to think that is what I do best. And, everybody's got the skills that they feel like they're the best at, and I feel like that's my best skill. And I played in bands for a while. I was in two different bands that actually had some success on the radio. Not major success, but one of those bands, one of the members in the band is now a Grammy-nominated artist. And perhaps you've heard of the Avett Brothers before.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Bob Crawford, the bassist for the Avett Brothers, was in one of those bands with me. for a number of years. The name of that band was Room 454, and we got to do a lot of cool things. We played a lot of cool shows. I got to play a few songs with Tom Constantin from the Grateful Dead. Got to have a lot of cool experiences,
cool.
and we had some of our music on the radio. And the second band I was in was called The Noise, and we also were on the radio for a little while. And we were going to tour the Northeast, and at that time I had already started teaching high school, and the other guys didn't really have stable jobs like I did, so I had to let that go, and I'm so glad I did, because I wouldn't be here talking to you today if that didn't. So anyway, I played drums for my church for a while too. And now I just play for myself. I got an electronic set in my basement.
At it right now. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I'll put drumless tracks on there, and I'll play like I'm on stage, and it kind of gives me what I need there. But I'd love to play again in front of big audiences again. That really was something that I really enjoyed.
Maybe Matt should record a special drumming intro for Getting Sketchy next season.
I did. The drums, the intro is me.
Oh, that's you.
I made all of it.
I just mean so we can see you play.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, there you go. The drumming is Matt. So you've heard him drum before.
And didn't even know it.
Tara, I have read your comment. I just want you to know that and taken it to heart, and I appreciate that. And I'm sorry for the experience as well that you had to go through. T. Zephon, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, but I think that you're right. The scooter was a Piaggio. I think that's how you say that. Piaggio. That's right. Special gold star. I don't know if they're still made. I don't see as many scooters around as I used to in my area. But I remember reading an article about it when it came out. It was pretty cool at the time. And I did see a couple on the road.
Now, you might notice that every once in a while I'm coming in with the eraser. And that's just working to kind of add the dark values. So if I get too carried away with some of these light values, I can go in there with that eraser and clean it up there. And as I'm working down, I'm just continuing to make comparisons. So I see where that little white edge of the shoulder, or that little white section on the arm, lines up with the edge of the lighter part of what is this part called on the motorcycle?
The windshield? Is that the part of the windshield, or it's the front
I guess it's
fairing.
a windshield, but it's not
front
glass.
Fairing, I guess. Yeah.
I guess it's still called the windshield, maybe.
Yeah.
Still shielding the rider from the wind.
It sends the wind up to your helmet, and then it goes over your helmet, supposedly. Pat says, "You're not tooting your own horn, Matt. You're simply beating your own drum." Right?
Oh, that's a good one.
Good one.
That's a good one. You got a winner there.
Well, Paul says that he also plays the drums.
Oh, nice.
So hard to decide, he says, between visual art sometimes and drums, I guess.
Well, for me, it's visual art is my job, so it's not easy for me to decide. But I am so blessed to be able to enjoy what I do for my job. What a blessing that is. Not many people get to say that, and I'm so grateful for that. So some subtle grays up there on that windshield. I'm telling you guys, when we get this silhouette done, when we do that final bit, everything's going to pop out and make sense. Maybe we'll do a little bit of it here.
Yeah, Tara was wondering if we plan to put in the white background, and that's for sure, right? You intend to go out there. Here you go.
Go ahead and put a little bit
of there, piece of it, so we can get a feel for how it's going to work with some of those midtones. Yeah, Paul was saying he also, choosing between visual and performing arts, because he also does play in a band with his dad and a couple of his buddies. I've seen there's quite a few people that are talented in both directions, visual and performing. Not myself. I am scared to perform in front of people. I mean, other than drawing in front of you guys. I don't think I do. So I don't know. When we play charades, I'm pretty good at acting, but only in front of my family. And I think I would be too embarrassed to do that in front of anybody else. But there are quite a few famous performers out there that are visual artists as well. And I'm thinking of John Mellencamp. Have you ever seen his paintings, Matt?
I haven't.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
Isn't Steve Martin also an artist?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he plays a mean banjo.
Oh yeah, he plays the banjo.
He said he's really good at playing the banjo. I'm not sure about his visual art. I'll check that out.
Who's maybe a musician too? I'm not real sure. I'm thinking of somebody. Maybe
I like that crossover talent. It's kind of like being the Deion Sanders of the arts, right?
Deion Sanders.
If you remember Deion Sanders. Now, doesn't he own a team nowadays?
I don't know if he does or not. I'm sure
I don't know.
Sure he does some stuff.
I'm sure he stays busy.
All right, so as I work my way down, I've got more and more to compare. And slowly things will start to make a little bit more sense.
As you get further down, the shapes start to get bigger. You know, you've been working in a pretty detailed area to start with there around the helmet and shoulders. June mentions that Steve Martin is also a writer. I wonder if he wrote that show about the murders in the building. Murders in the building.
It's a great show.
Anything to do with the writing of that. And Edie mentions that David Bowie and Lucy Liu are artists also. Did David Bowie do space paintings?
I don't know.
I bet they're interesting to look at. I'll have to look those up.
I love David Bowie though.
Jennifer says Scott Avett is an artist too.
All right, to give my pencil a quick sharpen there for some of these highlights on this motorcycle jacket.
All right, let's see. It looks like I've missed a question from Margie R. about pastel pencils. So, Margie, if you could type that back in, or later in the show, we may try to scroll back in the comments. Now, Jim Carrey paints. I was aware that he enjoyed painting. And I think I've seen some of his. I think, does he do portraits? I feel like I've seen him do portraits. Johnny Depp's a musician and an artist. Gosh, what does Johnny Depp paint? What is his medium? Like rum?
I'm sure it's like
blood?
ravens and skulls and stuff. Rings.
Yeah, he paints with his rings. I bet they're provocative to look at too. I've got some performing artists' artwork to look up when I get home.
Okay, so some of these things I'm just merely suggesting. We don't have to have all the information. Don't need to know the whole story.
Marty Yund says, Ashley, in the 1930s, my dad brought home an Indian motorcycle in a bushel basket and built it in the kitchen. My mom was very tolerant. She sure was. How about that? Was a cool project. Edie asks, what motivates you guys to be so productive? Well, some days are more productive than others, but...
Hey, Edie, have you ever heard of burnout? It happens, and it's happened to me. And it's, you know, I think that people have a drive to be productive sometimes because they're wanting to please other people. And I think when people work too hard to please other people, then that can lead to things like burnout.
Yeah.
And you know, when you get to a place like that, it's hard to do anything at all. It's hard to be motivated to do anything at all. And that's why I think it's important that you take time for yourself. And even though you might have a spirit of helping people and doing things for other people, I think it's important to take those breaks and make sure that you have time for yourself as well.
A little self-care helps you care for other people too, you know?
Yeah, and I've had to learn that the hard way, especially here in recent weeks, that that you don't have to be doing everything all the time. You don't have to control everything, and you just don't have to be on top of everything all the time. But I think that, like I said, I think that motivation comes from basically wanting to please other people and wanting to make other people happy. I think that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Now, I'll go a little bit different direction as far as being productive in terms of art and art making, because sometimes, and Matt definitely knows this, sometimes you still have to make art, even in the days or the hours that you don't really feel like it. But I think having some sort of a plan or a schedule, I know that sounds kind of maybe restrictive a little bit, but having some kind of a schedule can also help push you through some of those I guess, artist block periods. So I did used to, when I was in college, I actually worked for another artist, a professional artist who was much older than me. He was, in the golden years of his career, and he painted every day, and he was like a 9-to-5 worker. He looked at his job as an artist as like a day job. Of course he didn't have an employer. He was a gallery artist and did some prints too, but mostly a gallery artist. But he didn't work in the hours that he felt motivated. He got up early, had a cup of coffee, and started painting. So having some sort of a regimen or schedule can sometimes fill the void or fill that gap between periods of motivation.
Yeah, I'll echo what Ashley said there. Yeah, when you are a working artist, you have to work sometimes whether you feel like it or not. And when you're an amateur artist, you have the benefit of doing it whenever you want to, and it's fun. And just like when talking about the drums a few minutes ago, I'm sure that if I was a studio musician or something like that, I would be wanting to draw and paint more and maybe play the drums less. But because when I sit down to play the drums, I know it's something that I don't have to do, and it's something I can do just to make myself happy, then that's something that's important to have, obviously, but you also don't feel the stress of having to produce. But when you're a working artist and you have to work to make a living, then it's just like any other job, although I definitely wouldn't trade this for anything else in the world, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, Marjorie has reposted her question, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. It is about pastels specifically. She says, I'm dying to get into pastel pencils, but I love to do landscapes. Would I have to use soft pastels in combination to make it economically feasible? Don't want to mess with soft pastels. So Marjorie's thinking she'd like to mostly work with just the pencils, I believe.
Yeah, you can work with just pastel pencils if you want. There's no requirement that says you have to use the traditional stick pastels. But for larger areas, it's definitely going to save you some time if you work with the larger pastels. And a lot of times people have a misconception that it's harder to use those larger stick pastels just because they're so used to using a pencil or a pen for writing and so on. But really, you have a lot of versatility when you're using those larger materials. You might surprise yourself.
They make all kinds of marks.
Yes.
And they don't just have one point, really. They have 4 points. Trying to think of the corners as points. But maybe you could just get a really limited set of soft pastels and then layer them to create a variety of colors to work on top of, possibly with your pastel pencils, so that you don't have to spend so much on the pastel set that you don't plan to use to execute most of your artwork.
That's a really good suggestion.
And on Rembrandt sells half sticks instead of whole sticks, so that you can get more colors at a more reasonable price. Now, they're not quite as long, so they won't, it's laid on their side, they won't cover as much space as quickly, but just be aware that there are half stick options available by Rembrandt and probably some other manufacturers also. And somebody mentioned that, let's see who it is. Jen mentions that Johnny Depp's portraits are incredible. So I'm going to have to go look at those because I have I got to think about portraits. I like portraits. Portraits don't bore me in any way. Okay, let's see. Judy mentions that Stevie Nicks, Paul McCartney, Bob Dylan are all more famous are all a few more famous artists and musicians. And I knew Bob
So
Dylan.
there might
did
be
some
something
work,
there.
but
There
yeah.
might be some kind of connection there.
Yeah, that is, we're getting a pretty long list here of visual / performing artists. Brent Does Art says, not sure why, but I'm waiting for some red added to this.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this
of
with
color.
Well, I got to stay within the rules too, and
Yeah, but you can add some red to yours.
yeah, definitely.
like a red visor. That would be kind of cool. Or the lights, the motorcycle lights could have a little red glow in them. I think that would be pretty spot on.
Be nefarious.
Kenneth has a provocative suggestion. He says, have you guys thought about doing each other's portrait on Getting Sketchy?
Oh gosh. That's not a little
Do they have to be
provocative.
portraits?
That's
or
very
could
provocative.
they be characters instead? That would be so much fun.
Oh gosh, I am not very good at doing caricatures.
I love to do characters, but I'm very careful with them because I have hurt numerous people's feelings. I've had people not talk to me anymore after characters, and I even had someone headbutt me one time.
Headbutt you?
Yes, that is a story unto itself. Headbutt me after I drew a character of a group of people that included them in it. So I think I used
They headbutted you.
Yes.
Were they professional wrestlers?
No, this is somebody I grew up with, and we're buddies. But he didn't like my characterization at all.
I guess you were buddies.
Yeah, so yeah, no, we're good now. But in any case, I got to be careful. I'm very selective about who I'll do characters of nowadays because I realize that I've hurt people's feelings unintentionally. I'm sure it was unintentional.
Well, I don't remember what artist it was that said this. It might have been Sargent. Mm-hmm. They said, every time I paint a portrait, I lose a friend.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
If somebody is good, they can look that up and see who said it. But
Paul Roach mentions that a watercolor underpainting might be a good technique, and I think that was in reference to working with soft pastels underneath the pastel pencils. So we didn't even mention that, but you could use another material, just to cover the white of your paper before you go onto it with the pastel pencils, watercolor, marker, anything like that. That's a great suggestion. Well, your drawing has really picked up the pace in the last, I guess, 10 or 12 minutes or so.
Well, I'm going to have to really pick it up in the next 10 or 12 minutes as well.
I guess that's how much time you have, yeah.
Yeah. It's really mostly larger shapes anyway. And, you can see here that we don't have to explain everything. And it doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be perfectly placed to start communicating the subject in a kind of artistic manner. Just a bunch of shapes of different values, pretty much.
Pat confirms that was John Singer Sargent that had said that quote.
And to know that he is the one that said that.
That tells you something.
That tells you something, yeah. Definitely tells you something. That perhaps the greatest portrait artist of all time,
people would still get upset.
Struggled with it.
Well, he got into all that controversy over the Madame X portrait. It really was sort of a scandal in his career. Pretty exciting stuff.
I don't know.
Art scandals.
I don't know about that. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, Madame X is I used to know her actual name. She's a socialite, and he painted a portrait multiple times. UNCG actually owns a little oil study he did of her, but she was sort of a socialite, like a Paris Hilton type. She went to all the best parties or whatever, and he did a portrait of her, and when he revealed it, back then people would wear makeup that made them look lighter or whiter, like alabaster makeup, make you look fair. And she had looked in this portrait. She really looked like she had the white makeup caked on all over herself. And in addition to that,
so in an unflattering manner.
Yeah, she was wearing too much makeup, I guess, in a way that would maybe might remind people of a person of, I guess, like ill repute in some way. I mean, this is a different time. In addition to that, her dress was like a strapped dress, and one of the straps was off of her shoulder. And so everyone saw the portrait and thought that, I guess, that he was making a comment on her character. And so it was pretty scandalous. And in fact, he repainted the shoulder strap. So that had to be repainted up on her shoulder where it belonged, so that I guess to protect her reputation. I don't know if I got all that right. It's probably pretty close to the story, though. All right, let's see. Grant Hill tells us that Bryan Adams is a photographer as well as a singer. I like Bryan Adams, but he has an interesting voice for a famous singer. But he's got great music, great songs. And I do sing them loud in the car by myself sometimes. Let's see. Edie says, I found that professional creatives are usually multi-creative. I find that to be true. Patricia says, don't forget John Lennon. I think he actually went to a fine art school, Patricia says. That's where he learned to make all those line drawings. I'd like to see a little more line quality in John Lennon's work.
Yeah. I was sitting here thinking the same thing.
Can I say that?
I was sitting here thinking, his line drawings?
He did this.
Yeah, I know.
Line drawings. If I see another one of John Lennon's line drawings, that'll be one too many. So, oh my gosh, people are going to hate me. All right, let's see.
You don't mess with people's Beatles.
I know. My dad is such a big Beatles fan. I hope he's not watching the show right now. And of course, when I was growing up, I thought that was the only music for years. Yeah. All right, let's see. Edie says it looks spectacular.
Thank you, Edie.
Edie says, wasn't there a question if Madam X was a man or something? I've never heard that. I've never heard that. But I'm going to have to do a little research.
Maybe that's why it's Madam X.
Yeah. Well,
maybe it's Adam X.
She has an actual name. I just can't remember what it is. It's all in my huge Sargent coffee table book at home, though. Yeah, a loose strap on the shoulder. Scandalous. I'll tell you another scandalous picture that I like to show my own students. It is.
Whoa there.
I know. I'm going to get fired when I go back to work, but it is The Swing by Fragonard. I show it to them, and then I say, can you believe what we're looking at? Can you believe how disgusting this is? And they're just like looking at this picture of people in the woods, that have clothes all the way up to their chins, and they don't understand what the scandal is, And then, of course, we get to talk a little bit about the way society operated, I guess, in the years ago. It's kind of fun. But that was another scandalous artwork of the time, The Swing by Fragonard. So check that out and tell me if you're offended, because people were.
Let's go ahead and put a little bit of lettering here. It doesn't have to be legible. Just a little bit of something here.
Sharon Russell has a Sargent quote that I haven't heard, but I like it. She says, didn't Sargent say a portrait is a painting with the mouth painted wrong?
He said a portrait is a drawing or painting of someone where the mouth doesn't look quite right.
That's funny.
Or something along those lines. Again, encouraging to the rest of us.
That's right.
To hear that kind of stuff from, of course, a master artist.
He had a friend, I think his name was Vernon. He did a portrait of him. I can't remember. It's very loose, and it's one of my favorites. Just like a sketch. I tell you what, I really love the painting Sargent did of like the woods, like the painting The Hermit. I think those are very cool and so different from the other types of work that he's known for. Almost too harmonious.
All right. I think we're ready to fill in some of the negative space around here.
Well, we're down to almost 5 minutes, so if you don't start soon, I'm going to have to come over there and help you. You guys are going to see a couple of hands over there.
I could do what that student I had that one time did, where he would draw with two hands.
Oh, at the same time?
Yeah.
On the same pencil?
With
two different pencils.
Two different pencils. Oh, yeah, two different pencils.
I had a student that drew with both hands on the same pencil.
Maybe it was both hands on the same pencil. Are we thinking of the same person?
Maybe.
Max?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Super cool drawings. I can picture some of his drawings in my head right now. They still bring me joy.
Yeah, he liked to draw insects.
When I had him in my class, he took his sketchbook from when he was in the 4th grade and redid all the drawings in a new sketchbook, updated them with his new high school age or high school level skills. And it was so cool to see the ideas of a 4th grader well executed. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's a really
and hilarious. He drew a picture of our principal with our assistant principal's face in his belly, screaming like he had absorbed him. It was so hilarious. You'd have to see some of these drawings. It was very Black Mirror.
Very Black Mirror.
Oh, yeah. We laughed and laughed, though.
Okay, so I might need to make that background
Gaudreau, Madame Gaudreau. I think I'm saying that okay. Thank you, Barb. That is the name of Madame X. Gaudreau. Gaudreau. I'll have to talk to my relatives from New Orleans, see if I'm pronouncing that right. Really carving out that motorcycle now. You know, we had these like blank areas that just sort of melted into the background. Kind of, it's a little confusing, but it's looking really solid now. And the black is.
You know what I think I'm going to do here? I'm going to put a little bit of.
Oh, we got a super chat.
Oh,
we got a super chat. Great skills, bro, man bros.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. And what's the comment?
Matt, it says great skills, bro, man bros, mad skills. I don't know the lingo anymore. Ha ha. I don't know the lingo either.
Thanks, Broseph.
We'll go with. I like man bros. I think that's good. June says my poor dude's motorcycle is trying to escape from his body. Uh-oh.
Maybe he's having an existential crisis. Yeah. Or maybe it's me just driving the motorcycle. He's getting ready to wreck. Okay, so I'm gonna actually make this background a little stronger.
Okay.
Dun, 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 the time we have.
Oh yeah, look at that. There was still plenty of room to go in the value scale. Yeah, you got you got plenty of time.
Yeah, the timer is a suggestion. A strong suggestion, but a suggestion nonetheless. All right. So this is just white charcoal in stick form.
Jan H remembers the painting The Swing. She says, now I remember it. The guy had a better view than we have. That's right. It was all about the view. It was all about the young man's perspective that was so offensive. The very thought of him looking at all those 14 dresses, right?
So let's see here. This needs to come up a little bit higher. Yeah, I guess his arm's okay. He's just kind of stretched out a little bit further than what he is in the reference. His arm.
You can always knock off pieces with your background if you need to. Shave those shapes down. That's, when I paint still lives, very often I like to do the background last as a way to redefine my edges. So,
and I like kind of that looser, almost lino cut or lino cut look in the background there.
Gives a little energy in there. It's so flat in the original, in the reference. Earlier, somebody mentioned that George W. Bush is a portrait painter. That's right. And
pretty good too.
He's good, and he paints soldiers, doesn't he? Isn't that what he kind of focuses on?
I think you might be right. I think I've heard that.
But he speaking of prolific, he paints a lot. I mean, I've seen I guess a pretty large collection of his portraits before, not in person.
All right, let's give. Shadow here.
While we're on the topic of world leaders, I guess Winston Churchill was quite the oil painter. So you can check out some of those. It's a good way to take your mind off of, I guess, the horrible ins and outs of fighting and defending in a war, is to step back behind the easel. Buck Taylor from Gunsmoke Western is an awesome Western artist. He's now 84. How about that? I watched a lot of Gunsmoke growing up, so I'm going to have to go look at... And I love Frederick Remington. I really like, I guess, cowboys, Western art. I don't know if that counts as Western art, but I'll be anxious
Frederick
to see.
Remington, definitely Western art.
Yeah, he was one of a kind, so I'll have to check out those paintings also.
All right, time's up, huh?
Time's up. Ding, 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 ding. All right, well, let's see. We've got black. We've got a lot of mid-tone in there, and then quite a bit of tints on the light side of the value scale. So the whole value scale is represented in here. And, I like the energy that you got into your background. I think it fits the subject.
There's definitely some energy there. I'm looking at it. There's distortion happening in some areas, too, He's not going to just create an exact replica. Well,
this is a machined item. I'm talking about the motorcycle. It's very precise, very specific. You didn't use a grid. You just kind of went for it, using the proportions of the different parts. And so sometimes, as a sketch, I think you got a lot in here. And
I'm pretty happy with it.
I think for a 45-minute sketch, you're not using the grid or anything like that. I think this was a great sketch.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It does have a lot of energy, and it still looks like a guy riding a motorcycle, so I'm pretty happy with it. All right, do we have anything else?
Oh, let's see. Electra says that Prince Charles is a painter. I can't believe that. I'm going to have to see what he paints as well. Winston Churchill was a painter too, but he didn't like the portrait that was painted of him. Well, I guess sometimes we're the worst art critics, right? Those of us that get our hands dirty. Let's see. Wasn't Ulysses S. Grant also a painter? That I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. Let's see. Oh, Prince Charles paints with watercolor. All right. Let's see. Looking for more. Wow, I love it, Matt. Mine not so much. Oh, Maria, try it again. Sometimes it takes twice. Jennifer says, fantastic, excellent work, Matt. Thanks for another great lesson. And Paul Roach says, you're going to blend that white in the background? No, we're just going to leave it that way. We're going to leave it energetic. But if you'd like to smooth yours out, you can do that. You still have time to do that. And meet us for the live lesson over at the Virtual Instructor if you'd like to do that, because we've still got, I guess, about a half an hour before that one starts. But first,
we actually finished this one. This one in 45 minutes.
Yeah, occasionally that happens.
Yeah, occasionally. But you know what that means? That means it is time for the wheel.
The wheel
to see what Ashley's going to be drawing and what medium he's going to be working with next week. So let me move all this stuff out of the way, get rid of the image first of all. And we'll
DGF says it's displaced air, the energy around your motorcyclist. It's displaced air. That's right. I like that. That's where our distortions are coming from.
I could have actually
displaced air.
I could have actually made that happen a little bit more so. All right, so here's our two wheels. And let's see, have we done two vehicles? We have.
Yeah, we've done two vehicles.
So vehicles
now.
Is done, right. And I haven't X'd it off, but we'll just keep in mind that if that pops up.
So all I can do is people, animals, and what was the third subject that's still available? The subject?
Animals, people, and architecture.
And we've had no architecture, I believe. Okay.
No architecture. So. And let's see. I guess all of these are still fair play, right? We've only done one charcoal,
Only done one charcoal.
And graphite, only one graphite?
Yeah, my first drawing was graphite. We haven't seen it since.
And pastels, only one pastel.
You did the pastel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so what do you want me to spin first?
Let's do the medium first this time.
All right. So here we go. The last medium of this season will be...
And
charcoal again.
I was kind of hoping it would be charcoal.
All right,
but there'll be a difference. I promise I'll work with black charcoal just because Matt worked with white charcoal just to mix it up.
Yeah, you could do a combination,
or a combo, right? But we'll at least include some black charcool next week.
All right, and the subject matter Ashley's going to be tackling here.
Oh gosh,
I'm going to give it 100. Let's see, what are some good odds?
Well, there's 3 options there.
Okay,
so
I'm going to give it 3-1 odds that it's going to land on landscape.
3-1 that it's going to land on
landscape.
Oh yeah, I think you're going to be. I'm thinking you're right about it. I'm not even going to argue with that.
All right, so vehicles
We've had
is
a
actually
problem
off.
with this wheel. For those of you, if it's your first time, we have to spin it over and over because it always lands on
that
landscape.
Weight off. Let me take that weight
I think Matt's got a quarter under.
So anyway, vehicles is actually off the board. I didn't put the tape over the top.
But it is red, just like the X's, so that'll help us.
So
remember.
we know that's off because we've done 2 of those.
Okay.
All right. So
let's see what we get.
Here we go. And the subject matter Ashley will be doing is architecture. All right, good. So charcoal architecture.
Okay.
And that will be the last drawing for this season. And then the week after that, we'll take a look at the drawings we've done this season.
Yeah.
And that'll wrap up this season. And we'll take a few weeks off, and then we'll come back and keep doing this stuff for you guys here on YouTube. So let me go ahead and switch out over here. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that little shindig we just went through here, drawing the motorcyclist with white charcoal on black paper. Hopefully you got something out of that, and hopefully you can enjoy creating your own white charcoal drawings on black paper. Ashley, have anything else to let the people know there?
I'm already distracted with the spinning of the wheels. I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, you're already thinking. Huh?
Yeah. I think I've got an idea. All right, it just came to me. Let me write this down. All right.
We'll wait.
Okay. I had to write it down, or I would forget before I got home.
Well, I'm wondering what it is because it's architecture.
Yeah,
so
I'll show you.
I guess you have an idea of
yeah. I'll show you.
Piece. Okay. Guys, if you like this kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also give this video a like. And remember, if you want to check out the membership program, there's a link in the description below. You can check that out. And you can also check out 3 course videos and ebooks for free as well. Guys, we wish you all the best, the very best. I know there are a lot of you out there that are hurting, a lot of you out there that are sick, a lot of you that are going through tribulations and trials, and you're not alone. A lot of people are doing the same thing as you. And tonight, my prayer for you is that you'll get through those things, and life will get back on track for you. So I'm sure I'm talking to a lot of you out there. Just know that you're not alone. All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and sign out and head over to the live lessons at thevirtualinstructor.com. And we'll see those of you who join us over there in just a few minutes. The rest of you, we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.